All right, welcome. In this explainer, we're tackling a really big question, especially for anyone in policy. How can a classical legal system, one that's centuries old, actually serve as a blueprint for modern governance? We're going to deconstruct the core components of Islamic political thought to see exactly how. So let's just jump right into the big question, right? The one that any policy student is going to ask. Why does this matter now? How does a legal system codified 1,400 years ago have anything to say about the challenges of today's world? Well, to answer that, we first have to understand the two core parts that make this whole system tick. To really get how law and state action connect here, we need to get our terms straight. And honestly, a great way to think about it is like a construction project. You've got Fiqh, which is your detailed legal blueprint, and then you have Siyasa Shariyya, which is the actual governance, the build-out of the state itself. So first up, we've got Fiqh. Now, this is the deep, really granular body of law. You can think of it as the science of understanding all the practical rules that govern what a person does. And it's all derived very carefully from the foundational texts. It covers the whole shebang, from personal ethics all the way to commercial law. And then, on the other hand, you have Siyasa Shariyya. Here, we're zooming out from the individual and looking at the entire state. This is the practical art of governing, managing public affairs, setting state policy, and always acting in the public's best interest, guided by the big picture goals of the law. And this slide right here just breaks it down perfectly. On the left, Fiqh is that micro-level legal code. It's focused on specific rulings, the individual bricks. But on the right, Siyasa is the macro-level policy framework for building the state. It's all about systemic regulation and public welfare. So one gives you the rules, the other tells you how to run the show. Okay, so let's dig a little deeper into that blueprint. To understand any legal framework, you gotta know, where do the rules actually come from? And as we're about to see, there's a super clear hierarchy of sources. This whole hierarchy is laid out beautifully in this classic story. When a governor was sent off to Yemen, he was asked, "How will you judge?" He said, "By the book of God." They asked, "And if you don't find the answer there?" He said, "Then by the precedent of his messenger." And if not there, he replied, "Then I will exert my own reasoning." And just like that, he established this clear three-step process for legal judgment that is still absolutely fundamental. All right, so we've got our blueprint. The legal code is set. But how does the state get the green light to actually start building? Where does the authority to govern even come from? Well, the foundation for that is also textual. This right here is a foundational verse. It provides the legal and, yes, the religious basis for a political authority. That phrase, "those in authority among you," is the key. It's what gives a government its legitimacy, its mandate to exist, to manage public affairs, and to enforce the law. So how do these two things, the blueprint and the build, actually link up? Because they're not just running on separate tracks, right? No way. They are deeply structurally connected, and the sources point to 5 key ways they're tied together. First up, integration. Fiqh hands you the rulebook, the core principles. And Siyasa Shariyya, well, that's the art of taking those rules and turning them into smart policy, adapting them to the real world to serve the public good. Number 2 is overlap. Now, while both of these domains fall under the big umbrella of Islamic law, Siyasa carves out a very specific turf: public administration, foreign policy, the whole management of the state. You can really think of it as the public policy arm of the entire legal system. Third, and this one is absolutely crucial, is what we call a unity of purpose. What that means is both the nitty-gritty individual laws from Fiqh and the big picture state policies from Siyasa are all driving toward the exact same end goals. This shared objective is the ethical foundation of the whole system. Okay, number 4 is all about how the system stays relevant. Ijtihad. Think of Fiqh as providing the toolkit, the methods for reasoning through new problems. This is what allows the state to create policy for stuff the ancient texts could never have dreamed of, like cryptocurrency or complex international relations. And last but not least, number 5, cooperation. You really have to see this as a two-way street. A legal code is just theory without a state to back it up, right? But at the same time, a state without that legal and moral compass, well, that can get dangerous fast. They have to work together to be effective and prevent harm. So that brings us right back to that unity of purpose we just talked about. What's the ultimate goal here? What is the why behind this whole system? Well, it all comes down to a really clear set of core objectives that every single law, every single policy has to serve. And here they are. These are known as the Siyasa Shariyya, the 5 higher objectives of the law. I mean, you can basically think of these as the ultimate KPIs for the state. Every single policy, whether it's on healthcare, education, or finance, is ultimately designed to protect and promote these 5 essential human interests: faith, life, intellect, family, and property. This is the ethical compass guiding the entire ship of state. Which leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. For anyone studying policy and trying to solve today's huge global crises, what lessons can this ancient framework for values-based governance really offer? And maybe even more importantly, what are the ultimate objectives our own systems are built to protect? It's a powerful reminder that a clear ethical framework isn't just some nice to have. It can be the very foundation of statecraft.